senior manager in human resources for Siemens, and he and I have been very closely connected recently on the issue of our ability and a mechanism to find more qualified BAS technicians, of which we have a severe shortage, as I was alluding to earlier this morning, and also a significant turnover. So Claude's going to address some of the challenges that we face as an organization in finding those right people. One thing I'll ask is they've been filming portions of this, and I don't know if you wanted to film this, it's okay. All right, so with that, Claude, I'll turn it over to you.
Great. Thanks, Steve. First of all, it's a pleasure for me to be able to present to you. This is a different form than what I'm typically used to. So I want to beg your indulgence because I want to use this as an opportunity to shamelessly recruit your students. And go back and have that conversation with your career officers and invite them to contact us so that you can come on your campus and have those conversations. What's different about this presentation is that I'm going to share with you some information that you perhaps have not heard. Some numbers that are specific to BT in terms of how we actually run our company. Within Siemens, globally, we do approximately $200 million in Germany, just in apprenticeships and internships. Globally, we do about $500 million around the world. But in the United States, we only do $15 million, substantially different. Now, in Germany, they have a different perspective on internships and apprenticeships. You practically do apprenticeship in Germany for every type of job within Siemens. So our challenge is, as we take a look at the shortage of talent, is to increase that investment so that we can bring more technicians, more technical talent into the organization. Before we get into the depth of my presentation, share a little bit more about me. I've been in human resources for over 30 years. I mean, it's my passion. It's what I love. I've got an undergraduate degree from ISU. That's where Larry Bird went to. That's our claim to fame. Master's degree, bunch of certifications. Right now, I'm working on a PhD in leadership with Benedictine University, which is a small Catholic school here in Naperville, suburb of Chicago. I'm working on my dissertation now. But what I want to point to is that baby in the lower right-hand corner. That's a 1952 Ford. Okay. My wife and I bought that about 18 years ago, and we completely renovated it. I should say my father and I have completely renovated it. It looks a little bit different now because we bought went down to Denton, Texas, to one of those salvage yards that specialize in classic cars. We found a Continental kit that we put on there. Yeah, it's new. Get a lot of head turners. So that's what I do in my spare time besides enjoying going to school. I love learning. So when you're in HR, it's about life service. It's about helping people do their jobs better. And it's about leadership as well. Okay? So we work very closely with our leadership team in terms of consulting with them and helping them understand what good looks like and building that pipeline of talent. I want to talk to you about some things that are important to Siemens. It's going to be our engagement survey. We're going to talk about the new ownership culture in terms of how we evaluate talent. I want to talk about the technician gap and behavior competencies and open it up for questions. And feel free to stop me anytime. You don't have to wait till the end. This is what the BT zone looks like. We've got 9 zones. And you can see the information I have here gives you the total employees on the left-hand side and the number of technicians on the right-hand side. Right now we've got 7,900 total BT employees, 6,300 are field employees, and of that, 2,500 are technical employees. In each zone, it makes up roughly 25 to 30% of the zone population. So we talk about employee engagement. It's important for us because when we think about engagement, we want employees that are excited, they're committed, they have a lot of passion. Okay? Work style or personalities may be different between an engaged and disengaged employee, but it's based on decisions rooted deeply in loyalty and commitment. So when we go out and we look for technicians or specialists or any type of employee, we want to make sure they have passion for what they want to do. Okay? We could take employees with the basic skills and with BT University expand that knowledge base and make them extremely productive. One of our biggest challenges is simply finding that talent and then retaining that talent. This is our 2015 engagement survey. And I highlighted two areas. We're extremely high on employee engagement, so we can provide a great workplace. We pay people well, we've got excellent benefits, there's opportunities to move up, there's opportunities to be involved in different innovation, transparency to leadership. You can provide your ideas, we can act on them. But our biggest issue is on retention. A couple reasons why. Siemens does a great job training people. Okay? And unfortunately, our competition view us as a job shop. They will come in and they will buy our talent. Okay? Even though we pay well, you've got mom and pop organizations who will come in and buy that talent, move it into their organization, even though the business model doesn't make much sense. Okay? Because they'll bring that talent in, and then once technology makes a change, then that employee is antiquated, and then ultimately we find great real success in bringing those players back into Siemens. So our biggest job is actually retaining our employees and making sure that they've got the opportunity to experience new and different things. So when we talk about engaged and disengaged, this is the model that we follow. We want to make sure that when we talk to our employees that we understand what's going on with them. And not only in their professional lives, but also what's going on in their personal life as well, because that does impact how they perform work. And we got to have the mechanism to have those candid, transparent conversations between a manager and a supervisor. So this is common sense stuff. If you're engaged, you're going to be attentive, you're going to be responsible, you're going to be energetic, accountable, finish work on time. Disengaged, these are some of the telltale signs. Lack of urgency. You need to follow up on activity. Was it done right the first time? They're passive, irresponsible, slow to get their work done. On that last column there, you can see the benefits of understanding engagement levels. Engagement has a positive correlation to customer satisfaction, productivity, and financial performance. So we spend a lot of time working on engagement because you got employees that are engaged. We got technicians going out to the customer site. They get the job done the first time, it's right. When they come on site, they introduce themselves to the customer and say, I'm your Siemens technician, I'm here to do X, Y, and Z. They do X, Y, and Z, they go back and say, I'm done with it, let's do a walkthrough. So our technicians touch our customers more so than our salespeople, quite honestly. They're constant, day in and day out. So we want to empower our technicians to make certain decisions. And we also want our technicians to upsell and understand when they go into a room and they see different types of controllers, how can I make this room better? And have those proactive conversations about products that you've heard about or will hear about over the next 2 days. So it's important that we educate our technicians not only on the skill sets, but also on the product portfolio so they can have the appropriate discussions as they go out. So BT focus. Retention. This is what we're focusing out in the field. So you saw the 9 zones. We want to reduce voluntary turnover. We want to recruit to cover voluntary turnover and hire for growth. We want to be a $3 billion company just here in the Americas. This is not global, but within the Americas by 2018. So we have to cover our turnover and then hire and invest in growth. We also want to continue to work with technicians to understand customer satisfaction and what that means. Technicians have a direct impact on customer relationship management. We expect our technicians to be trusted advisors. So we want to focus on the right behaviors, and that's the how. Within Siemens, when we evaluate our employees, we have a what piece, that is what you do, how you do it, do you have the skill set and competency, but also we want to focus on the how. And those are the behaviors. Are you passionate? Do you have these conversations with the customer when you go in? Are you a team player with your other technicians? This is the how, and it's just as important as the what. Okay? We want to continue to do employee development. We have training paths for all levels of technicians. Our entry-level technician, our level 2, 3, and seniors technicians. So we will continue to do that and aggressively do that. We want to move up. So when we bring a technician in at a low level, let's say we bring one of your students in, the expectation is that over the next 3 years, they're going to be moving up progressively as we increase their skill base. That means we can bill more to a customer because of what they can do and the competencies that they have. We want to anticipate customer needs. So when a technician goes out, we want to get out there, walk around, take a look and see what those customer needs are, and come back and let's have a conversation with our sales team and try to get back with those customers and have the appropriate conversation so that we can meet their needs. And we need to differentiate from our competitors, quite honestly. I mean, this is a game that is life and death for us as it relates to having talent. And it is extremely aggressive. Okay? So when I think of JCI and Honeywell and Trey, I mean, they're just as competitive as you are. So I'm using this opportunity to give you my spiel in terms of that differentiation. So when you have those conversations with those students, I want you to think about Siemens and what Siemens has done. I want you to think about not only Siemens in terms of BT, but Siemens in the global perspective in terms of what our company does globally. This competitor, quite honestly, is General Electric. We're headquartered in Germany. What I love about this company is a diversity of thought. Okay? When we talk about diversity, it's more than just gender, it's more than just ethnicity, it's more than all of it. It's about what you and I can bring to the table in terms of different ideas and how we can integrate those ideas and have those proactive conversations. That's what we value and that's what we do. Okay. Ownership culture. I mentioned, what does ownership look like? We got 3 buckets here, 8 criteria. Respect, focus, initiative and execution, be bold, decisive, courageous. Siemens matters. We collaborate across organizations. Motivate, engage, empower, and trust, honesty, openness, and collaboration. That's the how. So that how in each one of those 8 criteria is going to differ. It's going to differ from a specialist. It's going to differ from an accountant. It's going to differ from me in HR. But when we sit down and we have our conversations with our techs, our supervisors sit down, we make it specific. So when we talk about respect, culture of inclusion where everyone feels respect and value, that's internal and external. We talk about focus, putting customers first. That's always job one. Initiative and execution. You act as owners of the company with passion to win and deliver exceptional results through continual improvement. That's the obligation not only internally, but to our customers as well. I won't go through all of these, so I just want you to get an idea. It's about the what and it's about the how. So when we go on your campuses, we're going to be looking for students that not only have the technical competency and the ability for us to train and increase their skill set, but we're also looking for the how piece. We want people that got passion, we want people that got good communication skills, we want people that are energetic, and are willing to put the time in. We want people that are realistic. We understand we got a lot of millennials out there, and you want it now. Okay? We get that. But you got to be realistic in terms of what that career path is and how we can help you get there. We'll talk about the technician gap. I mentioned that BT, we want to be a $3 billion company just in the Americas, in the United States, by 2018. That's going to require us to have 2,500 to 2,700 technicians and specialists. Okay? Right now, we've got about 2,400 fully staffed. Okay? But we're not, because we've got this turnover issue. Currently, we've got 2,500 technicians, specialists across 9 zones. And FY15, we hired 398 technicians. FY16, just from October through today's date, we've hired 67 technicians. Currently, we have about 200 open ERs, and we will hire well over 400 technicians. We got a 7% voluntary turnover, and I put that in caps because that's considered best in class. And in my mind, that's awful, quite honestly. You know, it's ridiculous, you know, and we've got to do a better job than that. We pay that. Average salary for a technician fully loaded, about $135K, you know, includes some overtime in there. It's going to be higher on the coast, California, and some parts of the East Coast, simply because of the cost of living. Competition for technicians is keen across the U.S.
Does that include cost of benefits or?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So fully loaded, so you're saying that
Fully loaded.
increase that by 1/3.
Right.
I know.
I also indicated BT is a prime recruiting tool. By our competition, they're willing to pay more to turn our technicians. And BT has to cover our turnover and hire for growth. So we've got some significant challenges. One of the gentlemen mentioned internships and apprenticeships. That's always been one of our key strategies. You know, my hope is as we form this partnership with BEST, is that we'll have the opportunity to reach out and touch and build those types of relationships. Doesn't matter if we buy our product, we got it on your campus. From my standpoint, I'm more interested in the students in terms of how they can help Siemens achieve its goals and deliverables, and how we can build relationship with your talent and make your talent our talent. So we talk about competencies. Technical competency is the foundation. You got to have the skill sets, and that's what you're in the business of, is providing those fundamental skill sets. We can take that through BT University and provide specifics. Our hope is that we can introduce our product into your schools, and as they come out, they already know the Siemens product. One of the things we got to do, hire on the basis of behaviors. That's extremely important. We got to effectively forecast headcount need. We got to utilize internships. We got to partner with institutions such as yourself. And then when I say partner, I'm talking about having a relationship. I'm not just coming on campus, I'm going to take 2 or 3 folks. I'm talking about an ongoing relationship where we are reaching out to you, having these proactive discussions about what does coursework look like, you know, what does new technology look like, what are the needs of my company going to look like, you know. And I'm talking about being intuitive and looking forward in the future. You know, what do we see the technological horizon being, and where are we investing our T&D dollars in, and how can you help us do that? So when we talk about behavioral competencies, this is the list that we've come up with: adaptability, contributing to team success, building trust and relationships, customer focus, high impact communication, managing work, creating a service reputation. You know, I mean, that ought to be in our DNA, service reputation. You know, so when they go on to a customer site, it's all about service. It's going to be done the right time. Right. It's going to be done right the first time. Aligning performance for success, sustaining customer satisfaction, tenacity. You know, we want someone that can get it, get it, and get it, and get it. You know, you don't take no for an answer, but you always be respectful. And driving for results. You know, one of the big things that we are always concerned about is this notion of slip. You know, so when we say that we're going to deliver a product and it's going to cost us $100, we want to deliver it for 90, so we can have positive slip. And our technicians have the ability to impact that. So those are the behaviors that we're looking for. You know, so I tell you that it's competition at its keenest for talent. We're looking for the best talent. We believe that we can afford the best talent. We pay well. We provide excellent benefits. We provide a workplace that is full of innovation. We provide a workplace that provides opportunity for advancement. If you come with Siemens, you're going to get every opportunity to be fully developed in terms of your technical competency. Okay? We will work with you and develop those behaviors. Pretty well open-minded. You know, we're going to deal with you. We'll have candid conversations with you in regards to performance. But we will also give you the opportunity to meet those performance expectations. I think that is it.
Okay.
Questions?
You just figure out when you can come to Springfield, Massachusetts.
Okay. But you know what? You know, I would ask you, you know, we've got branches throughout the country, as you saw.
Yeah.
You know, and so we're all over the place. And you got openings.
I think Martin Petek is my contact.
Okay.
Or-
Okay. Steve has my contact information, so I would ask that, certainly we're available. I want you to get in touch with me. So let's have these conversations. I stated that in Germany, it's 200 million in terms of investment.
I only have about 20.
Yeah, I think our challenge is that we've got commitments to where we need to make a substantial investment in apprenticeships and internships. We have to be at 3 billion by 2018. That's our commitment to Germany. And we can't get there unless we make the investment in talent. We understand that. That's one of the reasons why we're participating in this forum today. We have some strategies in place that we think will get us there, one of which is this forum and having these conversations with folks. Yes, sir.
What market do you think of those zones are you needing those technicians?
All of them. All of them.
Yeah.
I mean, these zones we're going to run in terms of revenue. I mean, these zones are going to run from what, 150 to 300 million.
Yeah, so Gateway just did $215 million just last year. We grew significantly, and we just had not, we hired probably a dozen technicians into our system and that wasn't to cover the turnover, that was because of growth.
What offices do you have I know there's one in Irving, Carrollton, Texas area.
Yeah.
Where else is
In
there?
Texas?
Yeah.
Oh, Houston, Dallas, throughout Louisiana, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Is Dallas one of the larger?
Yes, it is. That's the home office for that zone. Yeah, it's run by Craig Beneziski. Any other questions?
So Claude, I just say, like I said, as the director of the Best Center, I'm looking forward to working with you. We'll see if we can structure something nationwide, because we have the contact for all these people. You have the contact for all your branches, to see if we can coordinate something with internships, because they're all interested in the same thing, training our students so that they can get placed in organizations like Siemens.
Right. And if you want my job postings, just send me an email and I'll send them out to you. If you want people to come out and speak to your students from an HR standpoint, let us know. We'll be more than happy to come out to your schools and spend some time and talk about talent. We'll talk about, my biggest concern is behavior. As you talk about millennials, it's a different breed. Okay, I know, I got one. And so it's setting those expectations. It's amazing in terms of how we communicate with our techs. We use the latest technology. We got the smartphones. We utilize text. All of that. How they communicate back with their branch offices all through smartphone. Okay, their forms. How we direct them to the next customer. It's all done electronically. They come into the branch office maybe once a week, and usually that's to pick up supplies for the trucks. So, I mean, times have changed, because I remember 13 years ago, you came in every day. Okay? Now, we don't want to see you, because productivity is you got to go from this customer, that customer, that customer. We got to be there, and we got to do X amount of stops. So it's all about productivity, it's all about efficiency, it's all about communicating effectively. Now, at the same time, we can't get beside ourselves in terms of just communicating electronically. You got to have that face-to-face contact. You got to let technicians know that you care for them, that they're important. You got to reward them. You got to acknowledge their presence. Okay, so when we talk about compensation being at 135, we got to reward talent in terms of going above and beyond. So if I got a technician that steps up and does something at a customer site, then I've got to publicly acknowledge him, I've got to reward him financially, and I've got to acknowledge him publicly in terms of their peers as well. So that's important. Yes, sir.
Claude, you've given us some idea about what students should be able to learn before they come to your organization. Can you give us an example of what like the first week's training would be for a field tech? You hired 20 new field techs and you bring them all in for a week's worth of training. What types of things would you put into that training for that week?
Go ahead. I was going to ask Steve to kind of address that.
Yeah, so this is a very important session. because a lot of what we've done in terms of trying to justify establishing a formalized approach was to look at overlaps, not only between your programs, but also what Brian was talking about earlier with the certification and our current training programs. And what we find is that especially in terms of the non-proprietary knowledge, and even with on-the-job training, there is a significant degree of overlap. So a lot of what we're training our guys on when they initially come in is similar to what you are teaching or what you will be teaching in your automation program. Now, of course, that goes up exponentially when you talk about developing partnerships between Siemens and community colleges in cases where then you're able to have the equipment in your labs and then also to teach the proprietary content, possibly through the signing of an LOU or something like that, an NDA, signing something. But the overlaps are tremendous, and so this is, you know, as I think I alluded to this earlier, for Siemens, we started going down this path because we saw workforce development becoming an increasingly important driver for business opportunities. And in fact, we were walked out of community colleges when they asked the question, what do you guys do for workforce development? And we would hem and haw, and they'd say, all right, well, if you don't have an answer, you don't need to tell us about your control system or your fire system or what you do for performance contracting. Okay, revelation. Now, what we've come to learn is that that is important. We recognize that. And as a business, as Charlie was saying earlier, that's something that we have to continually pay attention to. But the increasingly more important aspect of this is on the training efficiencies and associated ROI, which is what we talked about just a second ago. And then also on the recruiting and hiring implications that a program like this can have. And believe me, when you get into the depth and you start really examining that on a granular level within your organization, the efficiencies that can be gained are tremendous. So that, to us now, has become the primary driver of participating. And we talk, I mean, it's been a theme throughout that we look at a program like this as having benefits all the way around and being interconnected. I mean, it's all interconnected. And it has benefits regardless if you're a professor or a facilities director or a guy that oversees higher education or a guy that focuses on sustainability or someone who's trying to establish a non-proprietary certification. It's all part of one cycle. And that's what we're excited about.
You know, it's amazing because we've got technicians that even though they may be based here in the States, you know, we've got technicians that will go globally and help us do installs at U.S. embassies across globally. It's not unusual for us to get requests from Canada or Germany or elsewhere in terms of expertise that we can share. And so we do that, you know. BT is a global company. Siemens is a global company. So it's important that we have individuals that are willing to accept those types of assignments and work. Go ahead.
And one of the important pieces to this also is the idea of training instructors. The partnership between the community college and Siemens in relationship to looking at what we presented to you this morning, the schematics, the procedures, the optimization stuff, and all of that in terms of developing what that curriculum and coursework looks like. And it benefits the students immensely in terms of what we call bringing students up to time utilization, in terms of when they're fully utilized and when they can start building and start doing things for us. But it also helps, as we talked about earlier, with your placement rates, which is a huge piece to your evaluation in terms of states and funding and how the federal government looks at your colleges, which we do know that the community colleges have had an issue in terms of graduation rates and placement rates over the past 10 to 15 years.
And your recruitment efforts, frankly. I mean, that's another area where we see a big benefit is through academic and, you know, middle skills diversification. You guys are exponentially marketing your brand to new and diverse audiences that may not have considered your school previously. We've seen a lot of that happen around the country too. Again, it all fits right? It's everything that's being said all fits into one big circle.
And if you look at this from a STEM perspective, we've got all you guys here that are your building automation folks, your mechanical folks. But you know, if you look at the silos, the way we're siloed, we have a class that's probably going to teach fire, and we have a class that's probably going to teach security. We have a class that's going to teach building automation. And as you've seen here through the CCC, is really it's an integrated backbone where the students of tomorrow are going to have to manage all of this within a building, especially if they become a facility director. And so how are we going to be proactive to begin to prepare students to manage that diagram? And one of the things that I share with superintendents in K-12 is the complexity of what a building looks like today, and the folks that they're preparing in K-12 to be able to manage that level of complexity. And so we need to work with you to advance this whole concept on your campus. So it's not just about building automation, it's about the facility and how do we interact with the utility, how do we procure, how do we consume, and that whole conversation, and what does that mean to the curriculum. And that's what Brian and the Best Center are working on in terms of what is that design of curriculum and those crucial skills going to look like.
Andrea, have I missed anything? Andrea is responsible for the gateway, that's one of our major technical zones.
No, I think one of the other pieces that's so important of folks coming out, as Claude has touched on it, we want that service mindset. We also want that customer service mindset, so that as they're interacting with the customers, they're able to speak well with the customers, they're able to communicate their ideas, not so techy that the customer can't understand it, but to be able to communicate on a level that the customer will understand what they're talking about and be able to help them understand how their buildings are working.
Yeah, in my classes, as a part of the initiation for the class, when I start out, I tell everyone that welcome to the first day on the job. So I tell them that the way we interact with each other is the way you would on the job. So no first names, everyone is Mr. or Mrs. And please, thank you, may I, all the proper ways of communicating with each other. And so we start building those mannerisms and those courtesies amongst each other in the classroom, so that when you leave and go out into the industry, then you already have that. And I grade the students based off of that. So we try and integrate that into the classroom so that they can take that with them, because a lot of my students don't have that. They don't have that from home. They're not accustomed to it. You know, we're talking about community college, technical schools, so they're already at a disadvantage. So we have to build that into them. So if they're trying to do what you're talking about, and that's something they have to learn early on before they get into industry. And another thing too, as facilities director, I am now writing into my contracts with the contractors that come in and do work for us, that there is a component for them to teach or give back something when I sign my contract. So if I sign a contract for $130,000, I want at least to have classes to my BAS or my HVAC students, or my drafting students, or my accounting and business students, because I want them to be just as responsible to give something back to the school as we are giving to them. So as time goes on, we're going to see more and more of this type of an integration between business partners and academics come together.
Yeah, you know, and you raised some great questions, and thank you for the commentary, because you touched on the passion that we have within Siemens. You talk about some of these aspects of social responsibility. You know, it's more than just, you know, me signing a contract. It's about what can I give back to society. You know, there's a wonderful clip from Joe Kaiser And if anybody's interested in it, I'll be more than happy to send it to you. Joe Kaiser's the CEO for Siemens globally. And he talks about this concept of social responsibility and our obligation to give back to society. And it speaks to some of the things you're talking about. I have an obligation to teach people, teach young people what those expectations are, how to be held accountable for them, simple courtesies. Thank you. Yes, please. You know, those are things that you and I take for granted because that's what we teach our kids. But let's be honest, you know, we're talking technical colleges, to your point, a lot of these young people coming up, they don't have those skill sets. Okay? It's what you see on TV, okay? And we've got to break that chain, especially if they're going to be successful and they're going to be able to retain a job. So it's not just Siemens, it's any other company worth the dog. They're going to demand those types of competencies and skill sets and courtesies. And so I commend you. I mean, I think that type of thing in terms of expecting your vendors to give back, I think is entirely appropriate. Yes?
Yeah, our whole college has adopted that we must, at least a few times throughout a student's program career, assess employability skills. And I would try to pull up what they are right now, but I'm happy to share them with you. But yeah, our students need to understand that they need to be a team player to make it in the workforce.
Any other comments or questions? But again, this was a great opportunity for me because I don't get it. Rarely do I get the opportunity to have a captive audience and simply talk about Siemens and what we want to do in the future and share with you some numbers that perhaps you wouldn't ordinarily see and give you some ideas in regards to what our strategy is going forward. Yes?
So, your regional companies, do they realize or they understand the Siemens commitment to the training so that if we call them up, they're going to know what we're talking about?
You need to talk to the zone managers. You start from the top, talk to the zone managers. They will have an intimate knowledge of what that expectation is. Go ahead.
Well, what we're trying to do with this whole program is that, you know, when you look at that zone map and you look at all of our branches within those zones, Siemens is a very entrepreneurial business. So you go from branches that are 20 people to branches that are 150 to 250 people, depending upon the locale. The Metro branch in New York City, New Jersey area, and all over the country. And every one of those businesses has a go-to-market strategy for HR. And they're all very, very different, depending upon the culture of the organization that you're working with. So there is no one set way that they go and they look for talent. And it also depends on their relationships with the community colleges, with the technical high schools, and all of that within that zone and within that area. What we're trying to do through this partnership is to standardize a little bit about the way we're going to go to marketplace on a regional basis to acquire talent and to develop a larger relationship, to have that pipeline much more active so that your graduates may be in an area where there aren't that many jobs because there aren't that many commercial facilities. But if there's a saturation level in your region, there might be an opportunity for them to go elsewhere based on our relationship here. And the mobility that we speak to is amazing. I mean, we've got folks that have worked all over the world, and before they get married and before they do all these things, we've got folks that have gone and seen the world and not have to go in the Navy. And gone to Siemens around the world and done that. So that is a really, really important point here. And these are the relationships that we're trying to develop. I have a son-in-law who's both a mechanical and a building automation tech, and he works for Siemens. And he's gone from Chicago, he's now working in Phoenix. In the Phoenix area, they send them all over the West because of the dearth of technical employees out there right now. And now he's coming back here again, because they need him here, and it's like we steal from each other. You need tech so badly at certain times. So that's what this is about. So you might not get all the answers that you want, you know, talking to an individual in relationship to setting up the relationship, but that's what this is about. We're trying to standardize what that looks like.
And you have our numbers. You got Steve's number, you got my number. We're more than happy to work with you. Yes.
Could you tell us just a little more how these zones are organized? Now, you'd have a lot of branch managers within a zone, correct? And so, do we want to try to encourage people to work at the branch level? And would the zone play a role in facilitating that, or?
Yeah, I think there's different ways to approach that, and I'll let Steve.
It's like kind of everything, although it doesn't sound like a very satisfactory answer, there are variations on a theme. So there are some zones in the U.S. where the zone managers are much more active because the branches are more widely dispersed. And there are cases where the branches are much more active because they cover a significant geography. So our intention, at least initially, is to try to put you guys in contact with the most geographically proximate branch. But if for whatever reason that branch doesn't have the capability or the interest, that we can then expand the search to the next branch and the area. We also have areas within zones. So like for Gateway that you see up there right in the smack dab middle, we have the Midwest and Heartland. Those are our two areas. And within each of those areas, you have an area manager, you have area sales managers, and then you have zone sales managers and a zone manager. So it's a heavily matrixed organization. I guess the best way of saying it is that we'll try to put you in contact with the best possible person depending on the particularities of that geography.
I think that's a great response, and I would probably say if there's an interest in, maybe we work with Steve, and then you could perhaps facilitate that conversation.
Yeah, that's how we'd like to see it handled, frankly, is instead of, you know, it's great to network, but I think if we want to be effective in the follow-up, that at the end of today, or, you know, certainly by noon tomorrow, if we could do a card exchange and have all cards come to me, not only with your contact information, but maybe with a little scribble on the back or on a stapled piece of paper about what specifically your interest is. Because the more specific I can be when making the introductions to the branches, I think the more streamlined we'll be going forward. And then also, you know, certainly I can involve people like Andrea and Claude and Charlie and Brian. Not Brian, sorry, Tom and Chris and Klaus, and of course Brian's part of it too. And then Chris, you'll meet this afternoon, and Osman tomorrow, and Amanda tomorrow. So, but I prefer to be the central point of contact, just because I know if we try to go in too many different directions, we'll end up with a lot of different results. You know, so, and we may end up with that anyway, but at least they'll all be going through one channel, at least to start. And then I'll turn it over to the branch offices and you guys, and I'll get out of the way.
So I also want to add, you know, if you have need for, you know, speakers or HR to be engaged and speak to your students, I mean, I would love to have that opportunity. You know, we could arrange for our HR consultants that are in the immediate area to come out, they're close by, or if we want to utilize technology, we can also do webinars and visit with your students. So please let us know. I think that's a great opportunity. I would love to do it. So it's an open invitation to contact us and let us know.
And I would say be as specific as possible in terms of what your follow-up requests consists of. So we're starting an automation program where we have one. We're needing to retrofit the lab. We're interested in the training solution that we saw. We're interested in, you know, establishing internships. We're interested in having Claude and his group come out and speak to our students. We may have a retrofit opportunity that you guys may want to look at. I mean, all that's fair game, and that's not to say that the list has to be exhaustive from the get-go, but if you could be as specific as possible and include as many areas as are applicable, again, that's going to make the follow-up that much more productive, I think. So even, you know, maybe we make it an assignment tonight that after you eat all the pizza, you can hold and drink all you can drink, and you go back to your hotel room and get out the crayon and scribble on a piece of paper. But no, seriously, just on a piece of notebook paper or something like that. You know, we can get a stapler tomorrow. We can connect it. We can make. I prefer kind of the more tactile type of information. But then I'll follow up, and that way I'll have specific requests to communicate to our branch offices, zone managers, area managers or whoever needs to be involved.
I want
And
to
likewise, just one more thing, if you guys have other people from your organization that should be part of the communication, list them too. But sorry, Claude.
I want to thank Best. I think it's wonderful. We've got everybody here. I also want to thank you for coming out to Chicago. At least it's not snowing now. And I really look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you.